Greetings to all, and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. In honor of the holiday known in the United States as Valentine's Day, today's episode is about true love. What is love from a Law of One perspective, and how can we find love in every moment? How should we choose our mates? Is there such a thing as soulmates? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups on the L&L research page shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook page, and we do meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out updates once a week to let you know what we're talking about that week, as well as the Zoom links. We do also have a YouTube channel where you can see recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty, Austin Bridges, Gary Bean, and Trisha Bean from the L&L Research Channeling team. Just hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you would like to join any of our Q&A sessions. As mentioned, today's episode is about true love. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, let's let people know your name and where you're calling from, starting with Michelle.
Hi, everybody. I am Michelle. I am calling from the Oakland Bay Area and really happy to have this discussion.
We're so happy to have you here. Sonia?
Hi, I'm Sonia calling from Olympia, Washington.
Nice. And Ben?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and I'm calling from Everett, Washington.
Nice. We have a West Coast panel here tonight, folks.
Mhm.
Let's see. Did want to note, as always, that none of us here are experts on the Law of One. We are, or love. We are just normal people like you, just sharing our thoughts and opinions, hanging out, talking about things that seem important to us. Anything we say could be wrong, and you are welcome to disagree with anything that any of us say. Otherwise, if you are already familiar with the Law of One and the entity known as Quo, you might want to skip ahead to the chapter on what is love. Otherwise, for those who are new to the Law of One, what is the Law of One? You can think of it as a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one, and that one thing is love. Pretty much everything we say tonight and read tonight is going to be some variation of that statement and read on your screen. It is worth noting that all of the reading passages that we look at today comes through the process known as channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, inner planes entities, etc. A channel basically serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through, and in this case, those entities would appear to be of extraterrestrial origin. There are two types of channeling that have been done by our friends at L&L Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance state, meaning they are subconscious or unconscious as if asleep, meaning they are not aware of what is being said, kind of like somebody talking in their sleep. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Ra in the early 1980s. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but very deep meditative state, meaning they are only somewhat aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're speaking. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Quo, starting in the mid-80s and going up to present day. Who is Quo? You could think of Quo as a group entity made up of three social memory complexes: Ra at 6th density, Latwi at 5th density, and Hatan at 4th density. You can think of a social memory complex as a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth merged into one group mind, one single consciousness. What are densities? You can think of densities as different levels of consciousness, different levels of reality. Imagine that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some sort of primitive consciousness. Whatever that is, we call that first density. You can think of second density as the level of consciousness of plants and animals. Clearly, a quantum leap above the level of consciousness of inanimate matter like earth or water or air. You can think of third density as the level of consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, a fair substantial quantum leap beyond the consciousness of other animals and plants. You can think of fourth density as the level of consciousness of social memory complexes. Again, imagine the entire human population merged into one single group mind or consciousness. Again, that would clearly be a quantum leap above the level of consciousness of an individual person. You can think of fifth density as whatever would be a comparable leap in consciousness beyond fourth density, and sixth density, whatever would be a comparable quantum leap beyond that of fifth density. So suffice it to say, Quo would appear to be a group entity made up of three planetary consciousnesses: Ra at sixth density, Latwii at fifth density, and Hatan at fourth density. First contact was made by the LNL research channeling team in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984, and they have been channeled every month since then up to the present day by the channeling team at LNL Research. Session transcripts can be found in their conscious channeling library. So let's talk a little bit about what is love. We're actually going to look at 4 passages together. The first one is from April 6, 2003, where Quo said, "You are a spark of the one great original thought of the infinite creator. Say that the creator in its infinity, in its impossibility of being described, is a vibration. You have that original vibration, which is unconditional love, as the basis of every cell of your being. Without that thought of love, has nothing been made that is made. It is not something you possess. It is your very nature. It goes far deeper than the marrow of your bones. It is far closer to you than your breathing. It is far more real than the impressions of sense. For it is that impulse and spark without which you could not take thought, take breath, or enjoy existence or consciousness." Again, cannot emphasize enough that those words that we just read came through the process of channeling. The person who was saying these words really didn't know where they were going with it. They barely knew how they were finishing one sentence, beginning the ending sentence. So looking at the whole passages coming through that process is remarkable, I would say. Also on November 26, 1989, Quo said, "Let us examine the fabric of the universe as we understand it to be. The one great original thought is not a thought. It is a purified emotion. It is love." And on November, same session, Quo said, "Each of you is a cell in the living body of the creation of love." And on October 16th, 2010, Quo said, "There is only one thing in the universe, and that is love." Again, it really goes back to that original statement we said, like everything they're saying is really just some variation of that summation of the law of one, that all is one, and that one thing is love. Everything in the universe started with a big bang. It started with a thought, and that thought was a pure emotion of love. It's a really amazing thing to contemplate, and we could spend the next 3 hours just unpacking that. But I would love to hear what our panelists think about it. Michelle, any thoughts, impressions on anything here?
Sure, a couple of thoughts. What came to mind is the beautiful phrase that our Ra ends with love and light to the one infinite creator and that message. And when I think about the vibration and that message around love, it is a fractal. We are sparks, right? Our soul, we come from the source, and love is that purity. It's a knowingness, it's an awareness, and that greater connection to the high vibration. And so I just pair that love and light together, and really know that that's truly the source of where we come from. I think it's an ethereal feeling that there's no doubt, no questioning. I think it's an intuitive knowing for me. When I feel it, I know it, and sometimes it's indescribable. But I think it's just beautiful to know that love and light flow through our cells and it's all the same. For me, to humans, it's transpersonal, beyond people, animals, and everything, even the dark and the light. So, yeah.
Yeah, intuitive, I would say, is a really good word to use for it. So much of this is, I like where they're saying the one original thought is not actually a thought, it's a purified emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of defies word explanation, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Sonia, any thoughts, reflections?
Just gonna second what Michelle said there with about intuitive. It really is. It's a real emotion that just, I don't know, it's not easy to describe sometimes. So that's all I have to say.
For sure. And it is a great start. Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, kind of similar to Sonia. I feel like it's one thing to read this, in the channelings and hear it again and again that this whole universe is just an illusion of the one original thought, which is love. And so I can know that logically, like on the right side brain of me, but it's the inner knowing. It's an intuitive thing too, and I think just knowing that it gives you inner peace, I guess, and it's a sense of we're all here to remember, and part of that remembrance is finding what resonates and finding those connections, which is like helping to foster the love in this universe, because that's the most real thing that we have in this illusory universe. So there's a lot to think about it, but I think just knowing that everything is based on love is enough to give you a sense of peace and kind of even direction, in at least for me in my own life. So.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate your bringing it back to peace of mind because those weren't the words I was thinking of, but that's definitely the feeling that I get. I think, especially these days with what we call reality being so crazy and nuts appearing, the idea that everything in the universe is in fact made of love. That's not something that I really would have thought of originally. It's not something that seems obvious to me. And yet to hear it expressed in so many different ways just in these four passages, and they've said the same thing in so many other passages as well, it is a really reassuring thing to look at everything happening through the lens of there are distortions of love, and certainly some are more distorted than others, but it's all about love, and every person you see is creator behind another mask, and they are another mask for love. That's an amazing, different way to look at life.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts anybody wanted to share on anything from these passages before we take a look at one other passage?
I kind of like the idea. I always come back to the idea of that we're a cell in the living body, the body of the creation of love. It's just the idea of, you can also look at that, we're each individual units of consciousness that are part of the greater consciousness of everything. So it's a similar metaphor, I guess, but it's I like that idea, like how like a single ant doesn't like has a sense of the greater colony, but it's still an individual being. And I think in a sense that's kind of what we're heading toward with unity consciousness, but that's another episode. So that's all.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because I kind of forgot about that. And to me, that was a big deal also. They've said in quite a few other sessions that we're basically cells in a body. And if you think about it, if the creator of the universe is one original thought, then we really are literally brain cells in a giant cosmic mind contemplating the existence of a cosmic mind. It's really, really, really heady, trippy stuff.
Fractals of light.
For
We're
sure.
the sparks. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our viewers might know this, but there's photographs showing like how nerve cells are connected, kind of like a spider web. And if you look at what is known by astronomers as the cosmic web, it would appear that galaxies are connected to each other through strings of gases that, when looked at, through the right kind of photography, they really look like brain cells too. It's like a big illustration of a big cosmic brain. It's amazing and beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, Let's go ahead and take a look at another passage. This is from March 19th, 2006. Quo said, "The Creator has a nature. That nature is absolute unconditional love, and we use that word reluctantly, for love is a feeble, flaccid, effete word, badly used, abused, and drawn through the mud of a dozen different usages of that word to mask impure intents, imperfect emotions, and confusion betwixt the desires of the body, the desires of the mind, and the desires of the spirit. Indeed, those languages which contain many terms for the word love would be a blessing to us. However, this instrument speaks English, and in your language, love stands alone to indicate everything from lust to that unconditional love which causes a mother to give her life for her child, or a soldier in combat to give his life to save his comrades. We speak of a love that is beyond all the boundaries and limits of human feeling. We speak of a love that creates and destroys. We speak of love that changes things. If you can imagine a thought that has the power to create the universe, then in your imagination, you have seen love in its full meaning." I really love that last part in Violet in the third paragraph. We speak of love that creates and destroys. That seems kind of a weird way to refer to it, and I think somebody later in the session asked them to explain what they meant by that, and they were just kind of using the image of the life cycle of an animal plant. You know, at some point the animal eats, but then at some point it becomes food for worms, and the cycle of life repeats. And so just like the yin yang symbol, you really need both the light and the dark to be complete. You need life and death to be complete, and we can't have creation without destruction. So goes back to me to that whole Big Bang, the universe as a Big Bang, an explosion. If you can understand that, that's love. That's what love is. Love that creates the universe. That's like fucking trippy as hell. Sonia, any thoughts on anything here?
I don't. I I feel the passages here. Not sure that I have words for them right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that second part in the paragraph where they said, you know, you got one word, love, that represents everything from lust to unconditional love that causes a mother to give her life for her child. And they left out pizza. We use the word love to describe how you feel
Right,
about
sweet potato
pizza.
fries for me.
Yeah, it's a very versatile word. It's funny how we use it so different ways. Ben, any thoughts, reflections?
Yeah, it's just the same thing that I said before. It's where it's kind of it feels I feel like it's almost incomprehensible. This what they're saying, that this is a love beyond all boundaries and limits of human feelings. So I guess I'm not meant to understand it in my human form anyway. So uh but I think Quo is speaking it to the power of love too, that you know, it's the one thing that drives this universe. And I think again, it's I think if you know that's kind of the secret to everything, at least in this reality, in this universe, then I think you're already a step up in your evolution as a soul. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's what I got.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the teachings, I think. I mean, I've studied so many different religions and spiritual paths and philosophies for like the last 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything written or spoken by anyone that speaks with this kind of love and wisdom and compassion. And yeah, I just find it super inspiring too. Michelle, anything to add?
Yes, I think it's as we said earlier, it's a knowing and a visceral feeling, you know, in the body around love, and unconditional is that interesting word, you know, to talk about the expansiveness. So it's, you know, to me, it's the light and the dark, and thinking about all those experiences and how you bring love in the moment. And yeah, there's some things we're meant to know. And I think for me, it makes me think about faith and the message, that Quo and Ra is saying about love, and embracing that as the true source of all things. So for me, it's a matter of faith. Mhm.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, absolutely makes sense. That's why I always appreciate these podcast episodes. I always hear different perspectives on things from panelists that I never thought of. But yeah, faith for sure is a big part of this too. Speaking of finding love in every moment, anybody have any other thoughts wanted to share on this passage before we look at something else?
Yeah, something popped up for me, Jonathan, when you were mentioning that middle passage here about the use of the word, how it expands from everything from lust to unconditional love to like sacrificial love. And the thing that popped in my mind is that, incarnating as a human, I think we're the creator experiencing these nuanced, all these facets of love and
Mhm.
these like deeper ways, I think. And
Mhm.
we get to experience um all these like pieces of it, but what is hard to really understand is merging everything all together in that grand love, and that's, I think we'll get back to that knowing eventually.
Might be a while, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great reminder that Quo has said so many times, compared us to like sparks of the infinite creator. If you
Yes.
picture that big bang that created the universe, it
Mhm.
was creator doing pretty much what you just said, Sonia. I think it was creator deciding, I want to learn more about all the possibilities of love. So created all
Mhm.
the galaxies, all the stars, all the planets, and every entity on Earth is learning its own unique lessons about love to eventually take back to the creator, share what it's learned. It's like, wow, that is amazing. You know, trippy stuff to be talking about on Valentine's
Yes.
Day, I'm
Pretty
thinking.
deep.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts wanted to share before we take a look at something else? Sounds good. So let's take a look at finding love in every moment. On August 14th, 1988, oh no, I'm sorry, on November 16th, 1986, Quo said, if you see anything except the face of love, you are having difficulties with perception. Forgive and forgive again. Forgive yourself, forgive any who seem to have hurt you, remembering that you have faulty perceptions if you do not see love in every situation. And then on August 14th, 1988, Quo said, within your solar system, there has been a great variety of experience, from the most disharmonious to the most harmonious, and it is within this range of experience that much has been learned. Not all progress is achieved in an harmonious fashion. Much there is of love that is learned by experiencing its polar opposite. I just find those two passages so fascinating. Just what a
Mhm.
weird way to say, if you don't see love in every situation,
Well,
it's your fault. It's your,
I
you got
know.
bad
I mean,
perception.
there's some moments where we are not feeling love, or not giving
Yeah.
love. Let's just be real. It's hard on this third density planet. So,
And yet it's there. So I
and
think
yet it's
that's the
there.
challenge that we're being given. If you're in a crazy, batshit
Uh-huh.
crazy situation
Yes.
and you're not seeing love in it, then you need
Mm.
to adjust your glasses because
But we
it's
have the opportunity to
perception.
readjust in every moment and choose love. So,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the idea too that if you don't feel the love in the moment, then you should be the love. Like then it's the urge is that you have to be the light. Like so create
Mhm.
the love and like find it in yourself, which is when you're in the middle of an argument. Like I've had these moments where I can feel myself losing my temper, but like now that I know about the law of one and stuff, like I try to think about like how should I be going through this? Like I'm already like two steps ahead, like trying to think how I should be in this moment, which is really weird. But then it's still hard to find the love. But
Yeah.
the challenge, that's the challenge. I think that's the challenge of this density and this reality, especially because no one else knows this stuff either. So everyone is kind of groping in the dark, as I think they've said in
Sure.
Quo and yeah, or maybe it was Ra, but either way. It's
Yeah.
Groping in the moonlight. Yes,
Yep.
indeed.
we're all
Yeah.
toddlers, so have compassion for yourself and for each other.
Yeah, and for sure, and especially in the chaotic political environment that we've all been experiencing in the last couple of weeks.
Mhm.
Really super intense stuff that I have never seen happening in politics before in
Mhm.
the 40 years since I've been paying attention to it. And yeah, many times that it's kind of hard to see love in every situation. And yet, I guess I'm reminded of what they're saying in the last paragraph, the last line of the second passage, where they say, not all progress is achieved in an harmonious fashion. Much there
Mhm.
is of love that is learned by experiencing its polar opposite. I find
Yeah.
that very.
And then it makes me think about the passage before when it talks about the limitations of the English language, right? And the different variations of love, right? So there's subtleties and there's dramatic differences. And so we're all talking about the context of love, but we feel it a different way, we approach it a different way, but we're still talking about the same experience. So I think it's a limitation in language too. But yeah, that's what came to mind with all the different scenarios we find ourselves in.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm remembering something that I think Sonia said when we were hanging out the other day. I think it was you, or it might have been Ragnar, but you talked about resistance training and how uh, being exposed to so many negative seeming STS entities, it's like the more resistance you have on the rubber band, the more resistance you get, the stronger your muscles get.
Mm.
I think there's a lot to that here.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I didn't think of it. I'm only repeating it from somebody.
I'm going to remember that when I'm being challenged, like, oh, I'm building up the muscle. I love muscle.
Strong resistance training, really strong resistance training for sure. Yeah. I think I had one other passage to look at. Anybody else had anything they wanted to share? Any thoughts on either of these?
I had something. I just wanted to highlight the word forgive here. That's a big one, I think, especially when, we're struggling to find the love in the moment. I think we can just work on how do we forgive? How do we forgive them? How do we forgive ourselves? Whatever the situation calls for.
Agreed.
Yeah,
That
that's a
is
huge
so
one.
important.
Yeah.
And it seems a really difficult thing to do at times when you see people doing things that seem to be hurting a lot of people and hurting the earth. And yet, you're right. That is exactly what we are called to do. And in fact, it's why we chose to come here, because we knew it was going to be really difficult, not just in third density and not just in the third master cycle of third density, but the very, very end of third density and end of fourth density. Hyperpolarization, hyper polarization. And yet we came here specifically to be able to forgive. So
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
a huge one, Sonia. That's a great one. Forgiveness. Woo, that's a whole nother episode too.
it really
for
is.
sure.
And I
That's
have
a
a
whole nother. Oh, goodness.
I have a
For
quick add-on, where, there have been times where I'm struggling even with forgiveness or it just in that moment. And sure, time helps, but I'm also thinking of like, we're putting out energy, we are like all interconnected. If we have an energy that we're sort of interconnected with the collective, I mean, we can't see it, but it's in there. And, sometimes we just need to lighten the load a little bit. If we can just have that energy of love that we can lighten the collective load a little bit. So there's
Mhm.
purpose too.
For
Yeah,
sure. For sure.
yeah.
And
I think, yeah, yeah.
go ahead.
I think for me, like energetically, Sonia, we were talking about lighten the load. I thought energy is just so to not forgive energetically for me has been burdensome. And sometimes for me, I've found that it's just forgiveness of the act, just the action and shooting the love to the person and having grace for myself too. It is hard to do, but it is a deep practice.
Mhm.
It's a really good one to bring up. That would be a great topic to talk about, forgiveness, Jonathan. Ooh,
For sure. Yeah.
yeah.
And forgiveness of self for a lot of
Yes.
people is harder than forgiving others. Yeah.
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 And I think that is something we are going to be revisiting before too long. For now, let's take a look at a couple other passages. This one was from September 15th, 1996. And Quo is recorded as saying, when one gazes at whether one who does great things in the world is superior to one who does nothing greater than re-diaper the baby, or take care of a pussycat, or simply get through a difficult day without complaint, one finds they are doing completely congruent acts because what is important with any act is the love with which it is done. And on March 28th, 2009, Quo said, it is well to ask the self when faced with a challenge, where is the love in this moment? When that question is asked, there are times that you can see no love in the situation. This creates the opportunity for you to open your heart and allow the Creator's love to move through you so that the love in this situation has come through you. It is not a discipline in which you must express what you know as much as it is a discipline in which you allow yourself to become a lighthouse, cleaning the lenses of your lantern so that there is no hate or jealousy that is clinging to you, so that you have become transparent in your personality. So much to unpack in both of these passages. But I really love that first one. It reminds me of the phrase they've used many times as democracy of spirit, meaning, in spite of all appearances to contrary in the third density illusion, every soul is equal and every act of service is equal. So each person on this panel, each person watching this video, you have as much influence in the world as Donald Trump or Elon Musk or Jim McCarty or Mahatma Gandhi did. Just from opening your heart and doing whatever you're doing, whether it's re-diapering a baby or just getting through a day without complaint, that has as much impact on the world as any other things that we perceive as great services. That is just so amazing and profound and inspiring and reassuring to me. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Ben, any thoughts, reflections on anything on the page?
Yeah, so I think that part of this is kind of being present in the moment, and also you know, living with compassion in your heart, like and it's easy to be, or it's easy and hard to be open-hearted, because I think part of that is we kind of have to be careful about how much energy we put it toward things as well. And I'm kind of getting in the weeds here, but um I think that it's just important to act with compassion and see yourself in the other. And I think that's part of what we're doing it down here too, is that we're getting in touch with empathy and recognizing that we're all part of this one thing, you know. And I think so of course you want to ask yourself, where's the love in the situation, and how can I better be my dad used to say, be part of the solution, don't be part of the problem, you know. And that's the thing, like, someone who's complaining in the corner about how terrible things are isn't isn't helping the solution, you know. So that's part of what they're saying when they say just getting through the day without complaining, you know, is you know, that's living in acceptance and living in a sense of peace, and that's the way. And so
Well, like somebody said not too long ago, I mean, that was part of our mission as wanderers to come here and lighten Earth's energies. So, as difficult as it can be, opening your heart and being a channel for creators' love, that is the challenge, and it is challenging to be sure. That's why we're here, I think.
yes, for sure.
Michelle, anything to add?
No, I would just add, well, just, you know, just in general, with that beautiful passage about everything is important. Just from the simple things, I think that's a beautiful passage. You don't have to, I think sometimes we feel we have to do really big things, and it's not it's all the things, the little things. I think that's a beautiful passage too. And when I read that and reflected on that, I'm like, it's freeing in a way. It's very expansive. So I just think that how we interpret and really believe and intuit that is what we're called to do, and it's all possible, I think is a great thing. So Yeah. And again,
Yeah,
all
that they're
the
not just saying it to make you feel good. They're saying it
right.
because it's true. It's metaphysically
Mhm.
true. All acts of
Mhm.
service are equal. What
Yeah.
an amazing thing. Sonia, anything to add?
Yeah, just a quick add-on to Ben's earlier. When you were talking, Ben, I was reminded of this word here that in the third paragraph, lighthouse. It's kind of like, how do we become a lighthouse and
Mhm.
every day? And, you know, sometimes it's not as easy, but it's okay.
Mhm.
And I love this second cool quote here about where's the love in this moment. And I have, for me, it's true that it's not necessarily a discipline, it's really something that moves through us. And just an anecdote, I had this experience when I had my first child, that it was, I'm holding my baby, I'm a new mom, but there was this like I'm looking at her and there was this very strong feeling of when I was just watching her that I had this moment where I thought, wow, every person is this sweet baby. Every human being that has ever lived, someone loves them like this. Like some greater power loves that is we're just in our essence, we're this perfect little baby, and they're just full of love. And so for me, that feeling just stayed there. Even when things are hard, if I can remember to bring it up to my conscious mind, like, oh, they're just a sweet baby. Don't be mad. But so
We call that work in consciousness, I
yes,
believe. Yeah.
totally. And there's other things that are less obvious, finding love in the moment. Like here's another anecdote for me. And it's when the sun is shining and I have a moment, I'm outside and I can feel the sun, those warm sun rays on my face. And I'm feeling love in that. Taking that moment to feel the sun. I love feeling the sun and it just feels like just love is radiating on me. And, I think if we can even do small things like that, just having a gratitude moment,
Mm.
it is really, it's a go back to that energy thing. We're putting out, love energy. So
Mhm.
Ra said it is literally love from
Yep.
sixth density entities having sexual energy exchanges at the core of the sun. That's generating the light that we perceive as light, but it is literally love. And we're bathed in it all the time. What a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up the lighthouse thing too. That was a visual that I think really struck me too. If you can kind of picture maybe a lantern that you have, and they're saying that you want to clean the lenses so that there's no hate or jealousy. If you could imagine
Mm.
hate or jealousy or hard feelings being black dirt smudges on the glass, and you're trying to clear it so that the light can shine through more purely. What a beautiful visual.
Yeah, and for me, that brings up the opportunity and experience to always keep it moving, because
Yeah.
it'll build back up. So I think it's that journey we talked about. It's working through all those. There's a lot on this third density planet, so we have to keep that lighthouse moving and keep the lantern smudge free as much as we can. But yeah, Sonia, you were saying about that moments of holding your baby. That's just felt so. I felt that just the purity and the love in that. That must be really powerful.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Beautiful thoughts. That kind of leads nicely, I think, into our next topic. Did anybody have any other thoughts, reflections wanted to share on these two passages?
I just keep thinking of have the image of Hitler as a baby, and
Okay.
that's all. Because Hitler was a little innocent baby too, and so
He
same with
was.
all the
Bless his
evil
heart.
murders, and everyone, Trump and Elon and
Mhm.
everyone else. We all start out as these innocent little creatures, and circumstances and our upbringing, shape us into the groping beings we are, and so it's just a good reminder to remember that we all came in the exact same way, and we all go out the same way too, and it's a good reminder to just see see the innocence of the beingness of the individual in front of you,
Mhm.
when
Sure.
when you can remember. So
Yeah, one of my favorite stand-up comics, Norm Macdonald, had a thing where he showed a picture of a really beautiful boy and only revealed later that, yep, that was Hitler. It's like, oh, it was a nice picture. Good looking boy. Seemed nice. It was him. Yeah.
Mhm.
Google it up, kids, and you can find it. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about channeling love. On November 13th, 2010, this is one of my favorite sessions, I think. Quo said, unlike your surface emotions, the Creator's love is not limited. It is finite and it is already flowing through you. Consequently, you have only to hold the frequency of love. Hold your heart open. Let your mind and emotions be at peace and feel the love flow through you and out into the world. As you feel the love flowing through you, bless it, set your intention to serve, and you shall serve beyond your wildest dreams.
Hmm.
Love that passage so
Love
much.
it.
Oh, Michelle, any thoughts, reflections on anything here?
Yes, I love this passage too about the intention and to serve. And as we were saying earlier, it's the heart. You can feel that in your body, and it's a for me, it's just a visceral. Uh, well, maybe it's a calling to serve. We talk about us being wanderers and serving, and it's just a feeling of doing that. And it's all about intention. And, there's challenges to that, and there's great opportunity. And I think it's a gift that we're here to be able to serve in that way. And it's from the heart. So, yeah, I love this is this is a great passage. Mm.
Yeah, and I think the intent really is key because most people just don't really think about it.
Mhm.
But if you set your intent on it and make a
And
point
yeah,
of
in a
doing
lot
it,
of different ways. It's simple, helping somebody cross the street or saying hello. Really saying hi to somebody and looking to their eyes and soul and really mean that. Or really, how was your day? Or picking up garbage or re-diapering the baby. I love that phrase, re-diaper the baby.
right.
Whatever it is, very small and large acts of
Yeah, or
love,
just opening your heart. I mean,
opening your heart.
I remember a passage where Quo said something to the effect that it doesn't really matter whether you end up actually opening your heart. The point is that willing it to open, as you said, it's the intent. It's the intent that makes all the difference in the world. So there's so
Mm.
many things happening all the time that easily cause us to close our heart, close our green ray chakras, and anything you can do to will it to open at any given moment is a beautiful thing, which I think
Even
we'll see in the next
subconsciously.
passage, I think.
Yeah, even subconsciously, I had a dream a couple of weeks ago, and I think my higher self and my oversoul, or maybe my spirit guides, I needed the message of feeling love from the creator. And I had this dream that just felt so pure, and there were children in the dream. So it's really interesting. We're talking about babies and children. And it just, for me, I woke up and my heart felt open. I'm like, oh, maybe my heart was closed for the last couple of days or whatever. But yeah, that heart opening, it's rich and vibrant, and it feels good. It feels light in the body. So I think about that a lot, how to have my heart open and balance it with wisdom.
Me too. I've been thinking about it a lot more in
Mhm.
recent weeks, even, I think.
Mhm. The hard things.
For sure. Sonia, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Just want to say that being of service could be anything, even scrubbing a toilet.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Do it with love. They're saying somebody who scrubs a toilet with love is doing more than someone who's channeling or healing or working in
Mhm.
the soup kitchen if they're doing it without love in their hearts. That's amazing. Yeah. Ben?
yeah, I think you guys have said a lot of great things. I think part of this for me is there's like almost like a remembrance of, because it's the truth is that we are the creator and we just have forgotten. But but it's
Mhm.
almost like you can feel it when you're on the right resonance or you're on the right track. And I feel like that open-heartedness is where that comes, like when your mind is at peace and you're in living in acceptance of the situation and of your life, you're certainly able to be more present, and then you're able to remember that you are the creator, and that it's all about love. And I think that's what it's kind of what I was talking about here. When you have that open-heartedness, then you can easily connect with other people, and connect with yourself and connect with nature. And um, so I think I like the idea, as you feel the love flow through you, bless it. So, and that's just, I think that's just again being present in your actions and your thoughts, and with other people, in conversations like this about love, as we explore the mystery of it, but the truth of it. Because again, as I keep saying, that's why we're here. That's what this illusion is about. So I'm
Right.
happy to ponder on it with you guys.
Yeah, they have said so many times that's literally why you came here. You had one job. That was like the main mission, to come here and lighten earth energies, mainly
Yep.
by opening your heart and channeling love. I
Mhm.
found a really fun way to do it more throughout the day, like as opposed to like just when I'm meditating for a few minutes, or other times. I found it works really good when I'm listening to music. I listen to music a lot, and I do square breathing, which Jim said was a breathing technique that Carla brought to him through a dream shortly after she passed. And a lot of people have used as a practice of white ritual magic. Square breathing just means basically inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and resting for 4 counts. So since a lot of the music that I listen to has a pretty steady 4/4 beat, most of the music most people listen to probably has a 4/4 beat. When I'm driving in the car by myself and I don't have anything better to do, if I'm listening to music, I'll just time my square breathing with the music. And I'll
Awesome.
inhale, I'm thinking of receiving and holding the prana,
Mhm.
holding the breath, the chi, the intelligent energy,
Mhm.
receiving and holding, holding and blessing on the second count, blessing and sending as I exhale on the third count, and then resting on the fourth count. And then I just kind of repeat that over and over again. So, like when I'm driving somewhere and I'm stuck in traffic, instead of getting pissed off, I'll just listen to the music and I'll focus on the square breathing. And my intent
Mhm.
is to take in that energy and to bless it, as they said, and to send it
Mhm.
forth to Mother Earth. It's really something I
Yeah,
enjoy doing.
Beautiful practice, Jonathan.
it is a beautiful practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I encourage anyone. Again, it means anybody. You can make as much difference in the world as the most powerful person in the world you think, just by doing that in the car, listening to music. You could. Little life hack for you. You heard it
Yeah.
here first. Shall we move on to another passage? This is from April 14th, 2006. And Kuo said, "This incarnation of yours is not about acquiring information or wisdom. It is about opening your heart and becoming able to share and carry the maximum amount of light and love as it flows from the Creator to the earth and through your physical and metaphysical bodies. If you can open your heart in this moment, you are doing the maximum amount that you can do to serve the
Mm.
Creator and the creation." It's so simple and yet it's so profound what I get from this, that wherever
Mhm.
you are, person watching this on video right now, where you are, if you can open your heart in this moment, you're doing the most that you could do to be of service to others and to the Creator. What a profoundly powerful thing.
Ooh.
Uh, uh, Sonia, any thoughts on anything here?
Being in the moment is very important. And I think when we feel stress, anxiety, it pulls us out of the moment. And, a lot of us, try to practices to come back and, be in the moment. But when, like Kuo says, when you open your heart in this moment, you're doing the maximum. So
Yeah,
just find your practice that works for you.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think it was Eckhart Tolle who wrote the book about the power of now, and being
Oh,
in that
mhm.
moment is such a profound teaching, I think. So simple and yet so hard to remember, for sure.
Yep. And for me, it's Ram Dass's Be Here Now.
Oh,
All
both
right.
of those are great.
Love that one.
Ram Dass
Both
too,
are-
yeah.
Right
Eckhart
on.
always says, go back to the breath to be present in the moment, because
Go with the
all,
breath.
yeah, always go back to the breath. And then, which is funny, because then in a way, it's like your entire life is a meditation. And,
Mhm.
and it's true though, when you're stressed out in a situation, you're not being present. And if you think about it, one thing Eckhart always talks about is, he was talking about, someone was asking about, what do you do when you have to wait, like in a waiting room in an office? And he said, and he talked about how waiting itself is an illusion, because if time is an illusion, then in this outside of this density, you can have whatever you want whenever you want, and you can be wherever you want whenever you want. So we actually come to this incarnation to experience traffic, experience sitting in a doctor's office, being told another 15 minutes again repeatedly. So then he says, when that comes, just come back to the breath and kind of laugh at the moment that you're getting frustrated with this situation of time that we have to deal with as third density beings. So it's kind of out there, but it's true though. It just come back to the moment, and I think part of the secret is being willing to laugh at the whole situation, because it is kind of a comedy that we're all this being who purposely separated itself and then gave itself amnesia as well, in order to explore the experience of love and all the different intertwinings of it. So it's hilarious, and we agreed to experience it and come down here and do it again. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up humor because, yeah, so important, super important, especially in times as crazy and polarizing as the present day seems to be, for sure. It reminds me there have been more than a few passages where Quo spoke about fifth density negative entities that Carla jokingly referred to as space pirates. But they're fifth density negative entities who literally feed on vibrations of fear and anxiety and bellicosity. And not surprising, they use many people in our political, economic spheres and leadership positions to keep us in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety. I mean, you're not imagining it. I mean, everything in the media is designed to keep you in a perpetual state of fear. You can't turn around without Donald Trump doing some batshit crazy stuff that is going to keep us in a perpetual state of chaos and anxiety and fear, at least for those of us who did not vote for Donald Trump. And it's like, wow, it helps if you realize that, oh, okay, we're being played by these entities specifically to feed on those vibrations of fear. So, Ben, like you're saying, the more we can learn to laugh about it and the more we can learn to open our hearts in spite of all the catalyst that's trying to get us to close it. It's a great way to say fuck you to those guys and say, that's all right. We don't need to feed you guys. Yeah, you guys can go to some other planet. Yeah.
They don't want everybody to be in the moment, because we might
No.
feel love simultaneously. There might be an
That's
issue. So
They definitely don't want people connecting with each other. They definitely don't want people learning to love and forgive. That's not their thing. Yeah. And yet we still need to love them and embrace them as our shadow selves too. So go figure, huh?
they're just a baby, right? They're just
That's
Yeah,
right.
they're just a
maybe
baby.
they weren't held or
Just a baby.
something, and they're hurting, and
Mhm.
hurt people, and
That's
right.
a great
And
way.
this makes me
Yeah.
think about, we've references, well, I have references often when we think about, Michael Newton and his books on soul contracts, right? And so, these folks that we're talking about that we have to stretch to love in the moment, we could have created this contract on the other side to say, you be that person so I can stretch myself to love you. It's like the great mystery and the not knowing all of we can't know all of it. And we purposely, as you were saying, Ben, like we chose to forget these, the veil. So we don't know about these other folks. Like, who are they? They could be your best soulmate on the other side going, I will be that person that stretches you to breathe in the moment and stretches you to love me, even though I may have done these bellicosity and these things that are horrible. So it's really interesting to reflect on that.
Yes, totally.
For sure.
I think about it a lot too. Like, and then you think about like your relationships with people in your life, like knowing
Yep.
that like we're all, it's been I've heard the metaphor about how this life is kind of like a play, and we all take on these roles. We come down here,
Yes.
and we play the parts. Like I'll be the evil boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend or whatever. And
I'm pretty
not that
sure
I'm
I was
anyone's
something.
ex-boyfriend, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about. Like, that uncle you don't get along with
Yep.
could be like your best buddy in a previous life. So.
100%.
For sure.
Great point, you guys. I mean, if you zoom out of the third density, they are making catalysts for you, which is a gift, right? It helps them business
Yes.
opportunities to learn and grow. And
Yep.
Maybe you have to
Yeah.
zoom all the way that far out in order to see the love in the moment. If you look at it from way that far back, that I was experiencing this pain and heartbreak in order to learn this lesson about compassion, et cetera, et cetera. But
Boy, we sure took on that mental to come down here and do all of this. It's deep and hard work, and I think there's a great gift in that because we're all the light. We just have to have faith in that. There's
sure.
a purpose. Mhm.
And
Sure.
what a great segue into our next topic. Let's talk about mates and soulmates. On November 16th, 1986, this is a somewhat longer passage, but Quo said, "We may say that a persistent difficulty in speaking of your matings within your civilization is the great variety of motives for inaugurating and sustaining such a relationship. Almost never is it for the reason that is most closely aligned with the actual function and purpose of the mated relationship. Almost never is suffering, hardship, and trouble used as the reason for choosing a future partner." Good observation, Quo. And yet, this is the precise experience you wish to share, for your illusion is created in order that you may suffer and learn. That is the purpose of there being an illusion, for self-consciousness to be awakened. The third density begins with a sense of self asleep, and happiness and contentment do little to awaken the soul. It is the interactions with others that bring grief, suffering, loss, and trauma which create the opportunities you most cherished before the incarnation. Thus, it is well to choose the mate you want to suffer with, and for the mate you feel will pull and pull as strongly as do you to carry equally the burden of illusion. Certainly it is well to choose in love. Yet, my children, do you think you are given your physical vehicles as they are for play? We suggest that in the divine play that is your sexual network of responses, there lies the great wisdom of bonding and creating a reason to consider one particular mate over another. The choices are often too many, for one may seem good, and then another, and then another. And so we observe most sadly that the motives for your mating often include the interest of the physical red ray center, and often also include desires for benefit. This is service to self and orientation, as is an unenlightened active red ray, and will lead to exactly the kind of catalyst for which each in actuality enters into a mated relationship. I hope that our viewers who have not seen this passage before are enjoying reading this. That is one of the reasons that I wanted to do these podcasts, so that those who are not really familiar with quote channelings, or even who are, may see some passages that they haven't seen before. But what a concept, that the idea of choosing your mate should be somebody that you want to suffer with. I'm pretty sure that's not something that's on the radar for most people. And yet, yeah, given how crazy the world is now and how more intensely polarized and crazy it's going to get, yeah, I would definitely, if I'm looking for a mate now, I would look for someone who would be like my best friend, somebody who I would be willing to suffer with and support each other. What a beautiful thought. Ben, any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, I I think Quo is a little bit of a pessimist with this view, because sure, their life is to be human is to suffer. That's the great philosophical strife, or I guess idea of being a human in third density is to suffer. But I think part of it is to awaken, and so I think so I don't know. I think I think that it helps to kind of meet, so you have to find someone on your level and find someone that you resonate with, and if you can do that, then you can you can get through life together, you know. So find a buddy is what my
Have you not been
like,
suffering enough with your wife? Is that what you're saying? Are you guys having too much fun together? Is that what you're
right,
saying?
right. It's almost saying like you do want to find someone who is going to be a challenge to you as well, because that's actually a gift to take on all that catalyst. But you know, you don't want to take on
Oh,
too
I don't
much.
think they meant somebody who was going to cause you suffering. I think they just
Right,
meant
right,
somebody who you could endure suffering
Endure it.
together with.
endure it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I agree that society wise, like we're definitely focused on image and sexual energy and attractiveness. So of course people are getting knocked off kilter and marrying for lust and all the wrong reasons, you know, instead of finding a buddy that you can suffer with. So, but
Unenlightened red race center, I believe,
yes,
is what they said. That hurt. That really stung, I'll tell you. Yeah.
so I think it's important to find someone who's on your same like vibration, like spiritually, like awaken, like on that same sense of in order to be compatible, I think as well. So that's my two
Sure.
cents.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. What do you think, Michelle? Anything to add?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Ben about, I think that energetic connection, I think one of the most powerful longer term relationship I had was just a spiritual connection, you know, with someone, my mate. And I think it's really powerful. And I think in the media, it's like the one soulmate, the one which may or may not be. I like in this passage, it also talks about companions and family members and really broadening that sense of that energetic connection and compatibility. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think, you know, having that vibrational match to endure suffering sounds amazing.
If
You
by
know,
amazing you mean terrible, yeah, yeah.
both, you know, from the external and from the internal, right? The things, the lessons we learn, the catalysts we have for ourselves and going through all of the catalysts we experience on this planet. So
For sure.
yeah, I think um sort of the idea of having that heart open and that energetic vibration and spiritually connected is really, really, I think, critical for me. And I'm just grateful to have those connections when I do have them. And I think there's lessons learned in all of it, the light and the dark and, you know, all of it. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to experience this on this planet. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think, Sonia?
I think your chosen partner is your teacher. You know, there is this energy exchange of teach, learn, teach that goes on. And I been together with Ragnar for, I don't know, 16 years now. It's been a long time. And we're both seekers, so I think that makes things a little easier now to work through any issues that may come up. But you know, I have to, there are times I have to remind myself, like, okay, he's a mirror, he's my mirror. I either said something or did something that upset him, so let me step back, you know, remind myself that, you know, there's sort of, you are kind of this mirror for each other. And you know, I think when I approach it that way, I'm really opening up the door of like, all right, well, let's figure this out and really just get to a place of peace and love. And, you know, like bumps come up and it's, you know, I try to remember it's not a big deal. It's just really resolution is the part that matters. And sometimes that might mean having an open conversation, you know, something that
Sure.
may possibly hurt each other's feelings, but, you know, there's a purpose for it and it's really to work through it. So,
Sure. Well, and it's nice that the two of you are so close spiritually and that you're both, you know, on the law of one path. That's unusual. I think most couples that I think I've met through law of one is into it and the other one isn't. So there's always that balance and how you are able to support each other spiritually. I think that's what it comes down to for me and Miriam. We've been married for 30 years and she's not necessarily into this stuff either. She's more into the mainline Protestant United Methodist thing, but we committed to ourselves when we got married that we would support each other and help each other get closer to God, and however that is. And I think
Mhm.
as long as two people care enough about each other to want to support each other in their spiritual growth, I would think that can work.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's really what's in the heart, what you have in your heart for each other.
Sure.
That, you know, we're all students, whether we know it or not. We're just all working towards opening our hearts. And, I think this is a good opportunity when you have a mate and, you're willing to really work at it, I think a little more than maybe, I think just generally speaking for all people, that we have this willingness to really work a little more at, harmony and stuff. So when you're,
I think that's maybe where the Blu-ray honest communication comes in handy too, because I would think, at least that's been my experience, that the communication is super important.
Mhm. Very important.
and they're offering you an opportunity to work on yourself too. And
Right.
I think it kind of goes back to previous things that we read here today. It's like if we really work on ourselves, we're really being a lighthouse more and more,
Mhm.
We can really have a time we're working ourselves to really open our hearts more and more if we're willing to be honest with ourselves and hear the other person out. I mean, maybe there's a good reason why they're saying something, so
That is one of the big paradoxes of third density, isn't it? That in working on yourself to do the inner work to heal traumas and forgive, you're being of service to others by working on yourself. That's good.
Yeah, and I think Sonia, you're mentioning, I think every relationship, romantic relationship, there is definitely a lesson learned for both. I absolutely agree with that. And I think the opportunity in ways to the vulnerability, I think is really important to be able to know that and to name that. But every relationship, whether it lasts for 10, 30, or 40 years or lasts in the moment, there is a lesson learned in all of that. That's been my experience too. And it may have been a retroactive learning or like, oh, but yeah, it's that heart opening and staying into it and growing spiritually is really key. Communication for sure, in my
For
experience.
sure.
Mm.
Ben, anything to add before we look at another passage?
Yeah, Sonia, you said a lot of great things. I agree with 100%. I would also just add that I think that yeah, there's such opportunity in having a partner just for growth and catalyst and acceptance too. And I think part of having a partner is being willing to accept like the worst of this person too, and also recognize that they see the worst in you and they still accept you. So I think that there's a huge sense of trust that's definitely built there, and I agree that that's definitely when you have that trust, that's definitely Blu-ray energy, and I think that
Mhm.
can be really high vibration. And so it's great when you can find another seeker, and they don't have
Yeah.
to be on a law of one path, because I think the law of one is so all encompassing that they can be any section of as long as as long as they're on their own path of seeking in some way. I think that the law of one is accepting of everything anyway. So
Mhm.
because it
Mhm.
all paths eventually lead to the same place, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that it's life is tough enough on your own too, so it's great when you can find a buddy to suffer through with you.
For sure.
I agree,
Yeah, and
Ben.
having core values that are similar, I think helps,
Yeah,
even if you disagree on a lot of maybe the surface level stuff. If you still care on a deeper level about same things, you're both committed to service to others, for example, or, helping others or caring about others. That probably helps.
Mhm.
Caring about spiritual things would probably
Mhm.
help. Yeah,
There are many ways to say the same thing, and it's like, sure, Rag and I can have like the language within the law of one, but really it's like, we're all really trying to find the heart of stuff. And it's just like things can be said, and the same thing can be said many ways where, it's also like just trying to listen with your heart to what this other person is saying to you too. So
for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which brings us to a great passage about soulmates. On July 31st, 2007, Quo said, "We find in our opinion the term soulmate is misleading, for it suggests that out of all the world, there is only one entity who matches your temperament, personality, and desire to serve. In
Mhm.
fact, every entity with whom you come in contact is potentially a soulmate. Indeed, many of you have incarnated into groups of those with whom you have incarnated again and again to be of service on planet Earth, and indeed for many wanderers on other planets as well. The idea of one soulmate is a romantic myth which stems from the yearning of the soul, the heart, and the personality for the opportunity to love completely and to be loved completely. We assure you that potential exists between any two people who come to the Creator on bended knee and who ask that the Creator be a part of their companionship, and that the companionship be more than a simple mating of mind and bodies, and that your companionships may always include the soul, and you shall find unconditional love in your life." What a beautiful passage. I remember when I was in my 20s and doubting that I would ever find anyone who like I vibed with that I could that could relate to me as I relate to others. The idea that there's not like one person out there that you're meant for. It could be anybody, potentially anybody
Mm.
could be your soulmate, and that yeah, it's a beautiful thing. The idea that they could be, members of your family, your friends, also can be your soulmates, just people that you resonate with on a soul level. I think that's a really important thing. If I was young and single, I think I would find this a very inspiring, very helpful passage. Any thoughts on this, Michelle?
Yeah, I think I was referencing that earlier about being in relationship to another soul and learning those lessons. And I think it just provides the opportunity, as you were saying earlier, Sonia, about the mirror. It's just being in relationship. We're always in relationship with something, with a person or a human or animal. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to really think about. When I read this phrase on bended knee, and that's just seems very sacred and very deep to engage in these spiritual conversations and connecting with another soul. It's just really beautiful. But I think, for me, I have buddies or friends and a couple of family members that um, I am we can learn those lessons, and there's a very deep connection, and that relationship is important too. And I think spiritually in a romantic relationship, it's very deep, and I've learned my deepest lessons and had worked through catalysts and had new opportunities, and I think it's just a beautiful opportunity to be able to go deep with another in that way, in that connection, one to one, however one finds it. And so hopefully I just really hope that all the folks here on this planet can find love and that connection, whatever manner works for them, because it is really heart opening. It is really important, I think, to being fulfilled in a third density. It is what we're here to learn. So I just hope everyone can find that love and that connection with another.
Yeah, and I appreciate how you kind of called attention to that part that's highlighted in the third paragraph, where they said, "We assure you that potential exists between any two people who come to the Creator on bended knee and who
Mhm.
ask that the Creator be part of their companionship." I would
Yeah.
imagine, especially now in late third density, early fourth density, that, yeah, committing to be of service to others, committing to be of service to the Creator would be a really important thing for any individual to do, and then to find somebody else who is also committed. Maybe not the
Mhm.
same way, like you said, they don't have to know about the law of one, but somebody I would think who has some sort of spiritual grounding and who is somehow committed to Creator in their form and asking on bended knee for Creator to be part of that partnership. I would think that would be
Yeah.
a really positive thing to do at this time. Any thoughts, Sonia? Anything to add?
Yeah, to add to what you guys are saying there, gonna pull from that second paragraph, stems from the yearning of the soul. That's really what we're all, you know, that's what everyone wants, right? That's what we're all searching for. And
Yeah.
love in any way that works for, any individual. It's really that yearning. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a romantic partner. That yearning for someone to connect with on a soul level can be with friends, partners, whatever. Yeah.
absolutely.
Uh,
My
yeah.
my best friend lives in California and I'm far away from her. And I mean, she might be more my soulmate than my husband is.
In a
Um,
different way. Yeah.
but
Mhm.
we're really we're just really connected and I miss her so much. And it really is that, love comes in many ways. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're speaking, it reminds me that I mean, I consider all the folks that I hang out with in our Law of One study group to be soulmates in the sense that we're all friends connecting on a soul level. And I would really encourage anyone who's watching this who's not part of a study group, go to the L&L Research website and go to the list of study groups. There's so many study groups all over the country, all over the world, and they all have a different vibe depending on who's facilitating it and who's there. And everyone obviously is welcome to check out the Seattle study group as well, but you might not necessarily find that that group is like your vibe, and there's probably other groups out there that would be a really good match for you, but you wouldn't know until you look, and I would really encourage you to check it out. Those of like mind who seek together will far more surely find, as Ross said. Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Jonathan. I think that um, it's really fulfilling to find a group of people that you can talk about the big questions with, and certainly anyone studying the law of one is delving into these gigantic questions about like what are we doing here? What's the point of this? Are there aliens? Where is God? Like these are the important things, and so I think that to anyone out there, I also encourage you to get on uh, Meetup or whatever, find or LO Research and find a Law of One group that vibes with you. I also like how Quo reiterated here that the idea of soulmate is a romantic myth, and I like the idea that but anyone you meet could potentially be a soulmate, and as long as you have the same kind of unified vibration and similar intention in your life's
Mhm.
paths, I think that it
Mhm.
makes me think of like the quantum universe and how all the different timelines are always branching out of the present moments, and so the potentiality of anything is always available to us. And so it energizes me, it makes me excited about how this, like there's so many so many ways things can go in our lives. And you think about how, looking back on your own life or my own life, if I had gone to a different college than the one I chose, like it would have completely changed everything. But I didn't, and so here I am, and it's just interesting to think about. So, and I agree that I I think that it's interesting to think about if you have the idea that the creator is part of your companionship, then that's how you can find the best companion. It's an interesting concept, and something that I don't think we do in Western society very much, but it's a I think it's a good idea. So yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a passage I read in a quote session a while ago that stuck with me, where they were saying that if you're really hung up and worried and obsessed about making the wrong decision or the wrong choices, going left when you should have gone right, or choosing this person to be with instead of that person, they said that the lessons that you plan pre-incarnatively to learn in this incarnation will follow you on whatever path you choose. Doesn't matter whether you go left, go right. Doesn't matter with you whether you pair up with this person or that person. The lessons that you came to learn, you'll learn on either path. Creator is with you every step of the way. Creator is at the end of every path you choose. So do the best you can, and rest assured that all is well, all will be well. I found that passage super helpful. I don't have it on the screen, but it's a passage that I read that stuck with me, that I'm just throwing out there for the good of all. It has been a wonderful discussion as always. I think we're actually about ready to wrap things up. Does anybody have any last thoughts, reflections wanted to share on this passage before we wrap things up?
I just want to say I'm
If that is the case, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
really grateful for my loved one family. I think just even getting together online, in person, whatever it might be, and even just talking about our lives. It's so nice to have that connection with other like-minded people. It's like we're a family.
Yes,
For sure.
agreed.
It's like everyone has their own set of little puzzle pieces and none of them form a complete picture. But when people get together and put all their pieces together in a pile, cool things happen for sure. Seen it happen many times. So, where do we go from here after our long conversation about all the aspects of love? What are some good takeaway lessons, perhaps? You could consider, for one thing, that all is love and love is all. As we said at the very beginning, that is pretty much the summation of the law of one. All is one, and that one thing is love. It is everywhere. It makes up everything on every level. And that means if you cannot see love in the moment, you have faulty perception because the love is there. You're just not seeing it. So getting in the habit of looking for it, I think, is a key learning. And remembering that if you want to be of maximum service to others, opening your heart, it's as simple as that in any given moment, whether it's right now in this moment or an hour from now or tomorrow when you're in a difficult situation. Just remember that opening your heart and full unconditional love for all is the best way to be of service to others and the Creator. And if you're looking for a mate, choose a mate that you want to suffer with. That's a good takeaway lesson. Go back and read the passage for the details on that. And lastly, anybody can be your soulmate. The whole idea of twin flames and soulmates, that there's only one person out there meant for you, according to our friends in the Confederation, is really kind of a not helpful, misleading thing, that anybody can be your soulmate to connect on a soul level. Anything I left out? Sonia, any takeaway lessons of your own you want to add?
Just remember, everyone's a sweet little baby.
Oh,
My practice, but some days is harder than others, but
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Ben, anything want to add?
Sure. I would say if you can't find the love in the moment, then you are the love. So be it. So that's what I say.
that's a good one.
that's a
Nice.
real good one.
That is beautiful. Michelle?
Ooh, those are hard to follow. I would say in those moments or relationships where you're being challenged as a catalyst, it's a learning moment and an opportunity to grow and find love. There's beauty in those relationships too.
Well said, indeed. Well, panelists, that means it is time for your pop quiz. Since today's episode was about true love, it seems only fitting that we should have a pop quiz about the movie that defined true love as the greatest thing in the world, except for a nice MLT, a mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomato is ripe. They're so perky. I love that. I am, of course, referring to what movie, panelists?
I have no idea.
That definitely did not go the way I was hoping it would.
You
don't know?
I don't know.
Oh, Eat, Pray, Love? No, I don't know.
Oh, shit. It is The Princess Bride.
Oh,
Oh,
The Princess Bride.
There is several people screaming at their screen right now.
I don't even know.
Before I finished the quote even. The Princess Bride is just one of those great movies that so many people know and so many lines from, except our panelists, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess this quiz is written for the viewers, I believe. So panelists.
I know it's popular.
Have you got, so nobody's seen it? You haven't seen it, Michelle?
I've seen it.
Seen it. It's just
Ben.
been
Maybe a long time ago, but I don't.
Long time ago. Did you see it, Sonia?
Yeah, I've seen it a few times.
Okay.
Been a while.
I have seen it many times. It's one of Miriam's and our favorite movies. And yes,
Hmm.
we can quote many, many lines from it, as many people probably watching the video. So today I am going to ask you 3 multiple choice questions and 1 true or false question about the Princess Bride movie. See how many you get guess correct. As always, the points don't matter. If you had fun, you won. But if you got a higher score than everyone else, you probably had more fun. So let's try this out. Are you ready for your first question?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who did director Rob Reiner originally want to play the role of Vicini? Was it A, Danny DeVito, B, Steve Martin, C, Robin Williams, or D, Wallace Shawn?
I believe the answer is A.
I'm gonna guess and say Danny DeVito because that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. What do you think, Michelle?
I'm gonna go with Danny DeVito. I have no idea.
Nice. Well done. The correct answer is indeed A. Well done, panelists, and well done, random person watching on video who got that correct. Apparently, after learning from his agent that Reiner had originally wanted Danny DeVito for the part, Wallace Shawn, the guy who did get the part, he was racked with insecurity. He was perpetually convinced that he was going to be fired after every take and that he was doing terribly. And yet, yeah, he's one of so many people's favorite from the movie. And the inconceivable line, of course, being one of the most memorable lines from the movie. I won't bother asking you if you remember any of his other lines because I'm guessing you don't. But inconceivable would be a biggie. Let's try another one. How about this? Who did screenwriter William Goldman originally want to play the role of Fezzik? Was it A, Arnold Schwarzenegger, B, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, C, Richard Kiel, or D, Andre the Giant?
Mm-mm.
I'll guess D. I don't know.
This is a trick
Mhm.
question. I'm going with D.
Yeah, D.
Wow, you guys are good. The correct answer is indeed D. Well
Yeah.
done. You are crushing it, panel. And congratulations to you, random person watching on video, who guessed that correctly too. Yeah, when author William Goldman was first writing the film adaptation of The Princess Bride in the 70s, his top choice for the role of Fezzik was always Andre the Giant. However, they were having a hard time to get Andre to even read for the part. Meanwhile, a then unknown Arnold Schwarzenegger was eager to play the character. And Goldman considered casting him for the part, but by the time the movie actually went into production over a decade later, Schwarzenegger was a big star and was too expensive for it. So they did end up getting Andre the Giant eventually. But yeah, apparently Andre the Giant couldn't memorize lines from the script. Maybe that's why he was hesitant for it. So Rob Reiner would actually record the lines for Fezzik the way he wanted it said. And Andre the Giant just repeated them and did great on it. Yeah. Anybody want a peanut? Apparently, this movie was notorious for being unmakeable. Rob Reiner apparently, it went decades. There were previous directors who had tried to do it but couldn't get it to go. And Rob Reiner, I think after he directed Spinal Tap, was kind of like popular, big deal. And his agent or somebody at the movie studio asked him what he wanted to do next. And he said, well, you wouldn't want to do what I want to do next. And they said, no, we're really serious. Whatever you want to do, that's what we want to do. And he said, well, I want to do The Princess Bride. And they said, well, anything but that. Apparently, it was just on a list of movies that had just sat for decades that nobody could ever make. And kudos to him for actually pulling it off. Let's try a true or false question. How about this one? True or false? Billy Crystal got all of Miracle Max's scenes done on the first take. It's a 50-50 shot.
say
Well,
yes.
actually, I suppose the way these quizzes go, it could be something else. But
I would say yes. I think like I mean he's I would say yes. That's
I'll
a
say,
huge. I mean, I don't
good
think
guess.
that was easy to have done, but I think he could if
Good guess.
yeah,
What do you think, Ben?
I'll say false just to be different.
Covering all your bases. What do you think, Sonia? Tiebreaker.
I'm going with false.
Nice. Yes, indeed, false. There are stories and stories and stories about how the process dragged out for 3 days because Billy Crystal was a comic and he improvised all the
Oh,
and he
that
was just
makes
so
it.
funny. They just ruined so many takes because the director or cast members just kept cracking up and ruining the takes.
That's
So
awesome.
it took them forever to get the final take.
That's believable because he's funny. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The guy who played the fencer, Inigo, I think he said later in an interview, he literally had bruised ribs. He had to go to the hospital because he had bruised ribs from holding in the laughing for so long. So,
Like for real?
for real. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Funny.
Last question. Speaking of Inigo Montoya, Mandy Patinkin said his performance as Inigo Montoya was inspired by whom? Was it A, his father, B, his first acting teacher, or C, Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, I think.
I think it was his father.
Good guess.
Shall I just do the middle one? Because I have no idea.
Sure.
Sure, I'll go with the middle.
Sounds good.
B.
Well done, Ben. Well done, random person watching on video who guessed A. Yeah, apparently in an interview, he said, and I quote, "The moment I read the script, I loved the part of Inigo Montoya. That character just spoke to me profoundly. I had lost my own father. He died at 53 years old from pancreatic cancer in 1972. The movie was made in 1987. I didn't think about it consciously, but I think that there was a part of me that thought, if I can get that man in black, my father will come back. I talked to my dad all the time during filming, and it was very healing for me." Really beautiful. Really beautiful. And yeah, I think he said in later interviews that that role is his favorite role of all time. He just loved playing that part. And yes, many people go up to him on the street and quote that line to him all the time. And he loves saying it back to fans of all ages. Panelists, it has been such a joy as always. Michelle, any last thoughts want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I'll just echo earlier about this beautiful Law One family. And I do believe that we were on the other side and we made a soul contract to study here together and learn at this moment in time. I really feel that from everybody that I've interacted with. So Law One is amazing. Love the family.
Indeed. And that includes people watching this on video too. We may have made contract together. Sonia?
I agree with Michelle.
Mhm.
Good
Nice.
note to end on.
I always agree with Michelle. Ben?
Yeah, same thing. They say your tribe is your vibe, right? So
Oh.
find what you resonate with and find the people you resonate with. And,
I was
yeah,
going to say you're wearing
hey,
better.
That is the very hoodie that I was wearing today. Thank you so much. Much appreciate
Right
that.
before you stood up. That's funny.
Awesome.
and also that all is well. When in doubt, just remember that. So this is all an illusion. All is well. All is well.
Love and light in the one infinite creator.
That's right.
Well, panelists, thank you for being here and thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. For everyone watching this on video in the near future or the very distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We're sending you our love light and receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite.
Bye.
Adonai. Namaste.
Adonai. Bye, everybody.